Hey everyone, it's Hannah with The Rocket Miner. Happy Star Wars Day. Today is May the 4th. It was interesting as I was thinking about making a video today on Star Wars Day. It made me think about last year, May the 4th of 2020, when I also made a video. Our YouTube channel was pretty new then, and we had just started doing daily videos to do specifically COVID-19 updates every day. And on Star Wars Day last year, I made a video, gave some updates on where we were at with our COVID-19 numbers, some COVID-related stories that we had shared recently, and I talked a little bit about Star Wars because I'm a nerd. I enjoy Star Wars and Star Wars Day and celebrating it, and talked a little bit about that and related it to what we were going through at that time. So today, as I looked into making another Star Wars Day video, it was interesting to look back at that video that I made last year and to think about just how drastically different things are between our Star Wars Day 1 year ago and today. So I started looking at things and comparing things, and I think it was interesting. It put some things in perspective for me, and I kind of wanted to share that with you a little bit today. So one of the main things that I looked at was, obviously, as I said at that point, our videos were specifically COVID-19 updates. So I looked at what I talked about in that video and the updates I gave on where we were at with our COVID-19 numbers at that point. And I made a note of that, and then I compared them to our numbers today. And I thought that was really interesting. And I don't know, there are a lot of mixed emotions that come with that. So I wanted to share that with you because I thought it was an interesting perspective. So today, as of today's Wyoming Department of Health COVID-19 update, Wyoming is at 49,276 confirmed cases. 1 year ago, we were at 444 confirmed cases for the whole state. Today we're at 9,091 probable cases. Back then we had 152. Today we have 57,198 total confirmed and probable recoveries. Back then we had 405. Today, with another update from the Wyoming Department of Health, they added 3 more deaths to our confirmed total. So today we are at 710 confirmed COVID-related deaths. Back then, I didn't include in that video our specific death total, but I'm pretty sure we were at about 5 to 6 deaths for the state. We had recently had the case where several people in one family died from COVID-19, and that was 3 or 4 deaths. So I'm pretty sure at that point we were maybe at 6 deaths, definitely under 10. Today we're at 710. Today we have 459 active cases in Wyoming. Back then we had about 190. Sweetwater County today has had 4,159 confirmed cases. Back then we had 11. We've had 173 probable cases in our county, and then we had 7. And as of today, we've had 4,154 total recoveries in Sweetwater County. Back then, we had 17 recoveries. We were at 1 active case, and I actually talked in that video from last year about how our 11th confirmed case of COVID had been hospitalized but was just sent home. So she was still recovering, but she was the only active case at that point. Also last year, we had had no deaths yet in Sweetwater County. As of today, we've had 38 confirmed COVID-related deaths. So as I looked at those numbers, it was just fascinating to me. And an important thing with these update videos that we've been making for over a year now, we've continued to share those numbers and to give updates on where our COVID cases are at. We have been accused of fear-mongering in sharing those numbers specifically, and that has never been the point, and that is not my point today. Our point in sharing the numbers has always been to give people perspective and information about where we are at with the COVID virus. And also, when you just look at numbers, it can be an easy way to just look at the statistics and think of them in this mathematical sense. What I have always tried to do in videos is remind everyone that these numbers are people's lives. They're our friends, they're our family, they're our neighbors, and we need to keep these numbers in mind and have a concept of where they're at in a way that helps us keep in mind where our family and friends and neighbors are at and what we can be doing to help them. But as I looked at those numbers and compared where we're at 1 year ago today to where we are now, it's just really interesting to think about how much has changed and to think about the mindset that I was in last May 4th and that I'm in today, especially related to COVID. At that point, we were still kind of in lockdown phase, and I use that term hesitantly because Wyoming never had an official actual lockdown. Things were still open the whole time. But that was kind of the mindset at that point. Most of the country was under a lockdown, and most people were strongly encouraged to stay home, not visit other people, limit going to places as much as possible. So that was just kind of the mindset. And at that point, beginning of last May, we were starting to come out of that. I mentioned the start of opening things like gyms and salons and how there were very strict rules with that, but we were starting into that process. But still at that point, I mean, we were looking at the numbers with 444 cases, Sweetwater County. We were counting and reporting every single case that was confirmed in our county. And I just had no clue what was coming at that point in so many ways. I really didn't understand how long things would last or how many cases we would have. If you had talked to me, if I could go back in time and talk to myself 1 year ago today and say, hey, we're going to be up to like 50,000 confirmed cases in this state in a year, and we're going to have a point where there were 11,000 active cases in the state at one point. I don't know if I would have been able to really comprehend that. And it's crazy to think of that and to think of how much worse it got than I was expecting it to. But then on the other hand, it's amazing to think of how much has changed and improved and been so much better than I expected. Because I said we were kind of in lockdown phase at that point. And I don't know, just we were being so cautious, and our knowledge of things since then has evolved and changed so much. The knowledge of the things that are okay for us to do, the things that we were taking extra precautions that weren't necessary. And I'm glad that we did, because we were being as careful and as safe as possible. And I think that's awesome that we did that. And I think that was really important at the time. But our knowledge has changed and grown so much, and we have so much more information now about this virus and about how it works and how we can respond to it and continue to be safe but still do things that we weren't able to do at that point. And obviously now we have a vaccine and things are opening in ways that are moving back to that true normal that it's looking like it used to before COVID even existed. So it is crazy to just compare that perspective and that mindset of where we were a year ago to now, and to see how things got worse but have also gotten so much better, and how we have been moving forward and moving through it together, and we've been making progress. Last year in my update video, I shared some stories about people who are affected by COVID-19, and I talked about the importance of stories and of sharing the happy stories and the sad stories and the ones that are mixed, and how that gives us perspective and helps us to keep in mind that these are people, to make it so it's not just numbers, to make it real and personal, and to maintain that perspective through the stories that we tell and the stories we share. And at that point, pretty much every story we had was related to COVID. That was the news. That was everything there was. And I'm so glad that now that's not the case anymore, that we are getting back to being able to do things in our community, that we can share stories about things that are still usually impacted by COVID, but that's not the main focus all the time. And I think that it's been cool and interesting to continue to share stories over this past year and to see how COVID does keep affecting our lives, but we keep living our lives and we keep finding ways to do things and to move forward. And through all of that, stories continue to be vitally important to understanding each other, to sharing our experiences, and to connecting with each other. And understanding each other and having empathy. And that's been so important over the past year. And of course last year, as it was Star Wars Day, and I'm a nerd so I had to focus on Star Wars a little bit, last year I focused on the concept of how Star Wars is so focused on hope. That is a central theme throughout every film, every series, everything Star Wars related. And last year as I made the video, I got really choked up and emotional because I was talking about how Star Wars was really helping me through that time period. I was watching through the Clone Wars series and the Star Wars Rebels series and some of the films. I was really watching a lot of Star Wars stuff at that time because it really was helping me through that kind of lockdown phase and mindset to have stories I could focus on that were hopeful and that just continued to share that theme in a time where it felt like there wasn't a lot of hope, or it was hard to see where things were going to go. That did genuinely help me get through that time period. And I shared in my video that year a quote from Star Wars from the character Hera. She said, "We have hope, hope that things can get better, and they will." And thinking about that a year later, it's awesome to see where that hope has taken us, and it's awesome to see the things that have gotten better. And it's not been easy. It's been such a hard year, and in so many ways things have gotten worse as I compare those numbers, as I think about how many deaths we've had and how many people we've lost to COVID, how many things we have been through trying to fight this disease. It's been really hard, and looking at those things feels like it got worse, not better. But then I can also look at the stories of the people who've persevered and the people who've helped us. I can look at the things we can do now that we couldn't do then. And I can see the progress, and I can see how we are getting through this together. And that is what hope is about. It doesn't mean that things won't get hard, or that things won't feel like they're getting worse sometimes, or that it won't be crazy difficult. But hope means that we'll keep going, and that we'll get through it, and that we work together to get through it. And that's one of the other things I love about Star Wars, is the message of uniting to fight together and to fight for what's right together. And that's why I wore this Star Wars shirt today that specifically says "Unite" on it, because that's the message from Star Wars that I want to focus on this year, that is so applicable to our lives, and that is something that we need. I think that one of the most heartbreaking things about the pandemic to me is that it's something that should have brought us all together, and in so many ways it caused more divisions. It's something that the entire world went through at the same time. So when it started, where I was at last year, I really hoped that we would unite as a world and as a people and as humanity to face this common obstacle and enemy. Unfortunately, with different opinions about how facts are interpreted, different things, about how things should be handled, a lot of things about COVID, instead of uniting us, actually divided us much more deeply and made divisions that already existed even worse. And I hate that that happened. I understand why it happened. I understand it's hard for it not to. But I still hope that we can continue to find ways to come together and to work through our differences of opinion and to work through the divisions, to find common ground, things that we can agree on, things that we can unite on, so that we can continue to come together and to stand for what's right and to unite and work together. So I hope that we can continue to do that with courage and empathy and with continued hope as we continue to move forward. So thank you for listening to my thoughts today. I hope that everyone has a great day, and may the 4th be with you.